Alright, in this tutorial we're going to look at cloth simulation in 3ds Max. So we're just going to do a very simple cloth. So I already have a scene set up with a tabletop and floor plane. I'm going to go and create a new plane. I want to have 100 segments by 100 segments. This is going to allow them to have enough geometry to drape properly over the tabletop. So I'm just going to go into my top view, change my view to a wireframe, and then this way I can just draw it out and see how large I want to make it. So I just want it slightly larger than the table. Right click to end that operation. I'm going to go into the modifier stack and then just go back to my default view. Bring this up, and I want to have it above the tabletop, so when it simulates it'll drop down onto the table. I don't want it too far above, so I have to wait for it to fall, but we want a little bit of air between it. So now that I have that in place, we're going to go into the modifier stack. We're going to go under cloth, and then in the object tab you'll see object properties. Click on that. You have the object that you've applied the cloth modifier to, so in this case it's plane 2. I'm going to make sure that it's selected, and I'm going to click to use it as cloth. So our choices are inactive, cloth, or collision object. So for this we want it to be cloth, and then we have all of our settings here that define how the cloth is going to function. Under presets you have some nice starter points, and we're just going to stick with a preset. So we can pick something like cotton or terry cloth, wet cloth. So I'm going to use the cotton, and then I'm going to go and add objects for collision. So under add objects, I'm going to click and select all the other objects in my scene. So I have the tabletop, the pole underneath the tabletop, and then the floor plane. And with these selected, I want to make sure I click on collision objects. Now if we have any sort of penetration, like if you have a sharp corner, you can get penetration with the cloth object. You can increase things like the depth, and that should help with it. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to run a quick simulation. So for my computer, I know that I've had to increase the frame count. I'm going to bring this to 0. And with my time configuration, I've put 350 frames. That way I can have the cloth land and settle. And then I'm going to click OK. And we should be good. I don't have anything sewn, so I'm going to turn off springs, just so I don't have to process that. And I'm going to click on Simulate. A little dialog window shows your progress, and it gives you a cancel button in case you want to cancel the simulation. So even though I have it set for 350 frames on the timeline, once I feel the simulation is fine, I can just click cancel. So I'm just watching the simulation. If it feels like it's stopped and settled, I can stop it. In this mode of simulate, I can't rotate the camera. I think it's pretty good there, so I'm just going to hit cancel. And now it looks good. I don't have any inner penetration. If I do, you can try simulating something like local dampened, which takes a lot longer, but will give you a little bit better result than simulate local. I actually prefer to simulate local in many cases, but just to show you how to set this up. So now I have it looks okay, the cloth. It's hitting the surface, it's reading all my collision objects and not penetrating. So once we have something that we're happy with, we can go and right click, collapse all to turn it into a editable mesh. But just to show you, in case you want to resimulate, you can go in and say erase simulation. If you have a keyframe that you like, so if I'm back here and I realize this is the frame I want to keep, I can click truncate simulation, and that will stop the simulation at that frame. You can also go in and click on a frame and say grab target state, and then click to show target state down here. And then that way when you play the scrub the timeline, it'll only show that target state. But if I have something I like, I just go in and right click and then collapse all, so I have the geometry to work with. But that's how you make a cloth, simple cloth in 3ds Max. So if I come in and I say erase simulation, it goes back to the default state. I also like to make sure that I don't have anything in the cache. So I like to delete the cache, object cache. But once we have this cloth, divide it into 100 segments. Again, if I want to simulate local, I can click on this button, and this is going to run the simulation. And what's nice is I can, if my computer's fast enough, move around a bit and look at the simulation from different angles. If I'm doing it this way and I find I'm getting some interpenetration, I'm not right now, but I can stop that and then go to simulate local dampened. And this is going to take a lot longer to simulate. So it's calculating with a greater degree of accuracy. So I'm going to turn that off and go back to simulate local. And again, I like this because I can scoot around a little bit. You don't want to do too much and crash it. And look at the way it's simulated. And then when I'm done, you turn it off. Now when you simulate local, we also get that playback, but the frame that you're on doesn't seem to matter. With the simulate, you must be on frame 0 and run your simulation. So that's how you do a basic simulation. Again, once I have something I like, so I can right click and collapse all. And now it's going to collapse it into an editable mesh, and you can go in and make adjustments with a soft selection to your cloth simulation. So if I had any penetration, I could go and play with that.